Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every life when you feel like you've hit a wall, when the weight of disappointment feels unbearable. You start to question your worth, your purpose, your ability to rise. In those moments, you may feel like a failure. I want you to know something today. Feeling like a failure is not the end of your story. It's just a chapter. A temporary place in your journey that will one day be far behind you. It's easy to hide behind a mask when we're struggling. We live in a world that celebrates success and perfection, and there's this pressure to always appear like we have it all together. But I want to remind you that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to feel vulnerable. Being vulnerable doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. The moment you allow yourself to be open, to admit you're hurting, or to share that you're not sure how you'll make it through, is the moment you give yourself permission to heal. Vulnerability is a powerful thing, but only when we stop pretending like everything is fine when it's not. When we hide our pain or our fear, we lock ourselves in a prison of isolation. But when we choose to show up as our true selves, even with the cracks and imperfections, we allow space for real connection. You're not the only one going through hard times. Everyone around you is fighting their own battles. And when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, it gives others the permission to do the same. Vulnerability is the place where growth happens. You can't grow without first being honest about where you are. You can't heal if you won't acknowledge the wounds, and you can't move forward if you're too afraid to be seen for who you truly are. So embrace that vulnerability. Don't hide from it. Don't shame it. Lean into it, because in that space, you'll find your true strength, your authenticity, and the courage to face whatever comes next. So many of us carry the heavy weight of failure as if it's a permanent part of who we are. We wear it like a label, a mark that somehow defines our worth. We say things like, I'm a failure, or I can't do anything right, but that's simply not true. Failure is not a reflection of your value. It's not who you are, it's what you've experienced. Failure is something we encounter, not something we become. It's a moment, an event, a setback. But it is never the full picture of who we are. When we start to see failure as a lesson rather than a sentence, we begin to understand its power. Failure teaches us resilience, patience, and the ability to adapt. It shows us what doesn't work so we can figure out what does. Every time we fail, we gain knowledge, sometimes painful knowledge, but knowledge that is essential for growth. We often forget that some of the most successful people in history have failed time and time again. It wasn't their failures that defined them, it was their willingness to learn, to adjust, and to keep going. Failure is a teacher, not a jailer. It doesn't trap you, it frees you. Because when you can look at your mistakes and extract wisdom from them, you're no longer stuck in the past. You're moving forward with greater clarity. When you treat failure as a lesson, you allow yourself the space to make mistakes without letting them rule your life. You understand that each failure is just another step on the path to something better. It's a redirection, a nudge towards growth. Failure is not final unless you let it be. It's temporary. It's fleeting. And it is there only to teach you something valuable. What defines you is how you respond to failure, not the failure itself. The moment you let go of the belief that failure is a reflection of your worth, you free yourself to succeed. You give yourself the opportunity to rise again, stronger, smarter, and more prepared than before. Because failure does not have to hold you down, it can lift you up if you choose to learn from it. We live in a world that often praises perfection. From the flawless Instagram posts to the picture-perfect images of success, it's easy to feel like we're falling short if we don't have it all together. The truth is, perfection is a myth. It's an unrealistic standard that no one can meet all the time. And yet, so many of us strive for it, believing that we must get everything just right, or we're somehow failing. But here's the reality. It's not perfection that leads to success, it's perseverance. It's the ability to keep moving forward, even when things aren't perfect. It's about putting in the work day after day, even when the results aren't immediate or exactly what you envisioned. Success isn't born from flawless execution, it's born from consistency, from the grit to keep trying, from the courage to show up, even when the outcome is uncertain. Perfectionism paralyzes us. It keeps us stuck in a loop of fear and self-doubt because we're so focused on getting it exactly right that we don't take any action at all. It tells us that unless we can do it perfectly, we shouldn't even bother. But here's the thing, perfection doesn't create progress. It's the act of trying, of stumbling, of learning from mistakes that creates momentum. It's through perseverance that we build strength, character, and resilience. When we prioritize perseverance over perfection, we give ourselves the grace to make mistakes, learn from them, and improve. We give ourselves permission to grow at our own pace without the pressure of needing everything to be perfect right now. Every misstep, every failure is just a step closer to where we need to be. And the more we keep going, the more we realize that success doesn't come from being perfect, it comes from not giving up. Perseverance is what carries us through the difficult moments. It's what helps us get up when we've been knocked down, what pushes us forward when we feel like turning back. Perfection doesn't give us that strength. It's the willingness to continue to keep pushing despite the obstacles that ultimately leads to achievement. When we embrace perseverance, we understand that it's not about having everything figured out right away, but about staying committed to the process no matter how messy it may seem. There are moments in life when we feel completely alone. In times of failure, loss, or struggle, we often convince ourselves that we must face these battles on our own. We think we're the only ones going through pain or difficulty. We believe that if we show vulnerability or ask for help, we'll appear weak or incapable. But I'm here to tell you that one of the most powerful tools we have in life is the support of others, the strength that comes from community. At some point, we all need to be reminded that we don't have to carry our burdens by ourselves. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we must be self-reliant, that asking for help means we're failing in some way. But that couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, there is incredible power in leaning on others, in allowing ourselves to be supported by people who care about us, who want to see us succeed and thrive. Community doesn't just happen by accident. It's built on relationships, on trust, on shared experiences. It's the group of people who lift you up when you can't stand, who offer their wisdom when you're uncertain, who give you a shoulder to cry on when the world feels like too much. And sometimes that community can come from the most unexpected places: friends, family, colleagues, or even strangers who cross your path and offer just what you need at just the right time. There's something magical that happens when we come together in community. It's in these moments of connection that we realize we are not as isolated as we may think. It's when we allow ourselves to be part of something larger than ourselves that we experience true strength. The power of community lies not only in the fact that it helps us through tough times, but also in the way it helps us grow as individuals. When we share our stories, our struggles, and our triumphs, we learn from one another. We realize that our pain is not unique, that our fears are not alone. We start to see that though our journeys may be different, we're all in this together. Support can come in many forms. Sometimes it's the person who listens patiently without judgment, allowing us to express our frustrations or fears. Other times it's the person who gives us a gentle push, reminding us that we are capable, that we have the strength to keep going. It's the friend who offers a kind word when we feel defeated, or the mentor who provides guidance when we're at a crossroads. And sometimes the greatest support can come from those who simply show up physically or emotionally to be there for us when we need it most. But let's not forget that community and support are not just one-way streets. To truly experience the power of community, we must also be willing to offer our own support to others. The most profound connections are those in which both parties are lifting each other up. Giving support doesn't always mean having the right words or offering solutions. Sometimes it's simply about showing up, being present, and letting someone know they are not alone. It's about offering your time, your attention, and your heart to help others through their own struggles. The truth is, no one gets through life entirely on their own. We are all connected, woven together in a fabric of shared experiences, shared challenges, and shared hopes. The notion that we must go through everything alone is not only damaging, but limiting. When we allow ourselves to be supported, we open ourselves to growth. We give ourselves the opportunity to learn from others' perspectives, to gain insight into how they've navigated their own difficulties. In turn, we grow stronger, more resilient, and better equipped to handle whatever comes next. In fact, research has shown that the power of community has a profound impact on our mental and emotional well-being. People who have strong social support systems are more resilient to stress and less likely to experience depression. They recover from setbacks faster and are better able to navigate life's challenges. The connections we form with others not only provide us with emotional comfort, but also practical help. Whether it's a listening ear, advice, or a helping hand, the people around us help us see different angles, offer new solutions, and inspire us to keep moving forward. But even more than that, community has the ability to heal. It has the power to take the deepest wounds and begin to stitch them back together. When we share our pain with others who understand, when we receive empathy and compassion in return, it lightens the load. Healing is not a solitary process, it's a communal one. It's the act of walking through the hard times with someone else by your side, knowing that they are there to support you, even when you can't support yourself. There's also something incredibly powerful about being part of a community that shares a common purpose or goal. When we work together, we amplify our individual strengths. The shared energy, focus, and determination of a group can accomplish more than we ever could alone. Whether it's a team working toward a common objective, a family coming together to support each other, or a group of friends who rally around one another in times of crisis, there's a unique power in collective action. The synergy created when we join forces with others can transform our dreams into reality, push us past our limits, and help us accomplish things we never thought possible. In moments of struggle, the temptation to isolate ourselves is strong. We think that by pulling away, we can avoid judgment, disappointment, or vulnerability. But what we fail to realize is that isolation only magnifies our pain. It distorts our perspective and makes everything feel more overwhelming than it truly is. But when we open ourselves to the power of community, we find strength in numbers. We find comfort in knowing that others are rooting for us, supporting us, and walking alongside us. The power of community and support is not just about surviving, it's about thriving. It's about being able to push through challenges with the confidence that you are not alone, that there is a network of people behind you, cheering you on, and helping you along the way. Life is hard, no doubt. But it is also beautiful when we walk it together. There are times when life can feel overwhelming, when everything seems to be falling apart and the future looks bleak. In those moments, it's easy to feel hopeless. We may find ourselves questioning whether things will ever improve, whether the struggles we're facing will ever ease. The pain, the frustration, the uncertainty, these emotions can cloud our vision and make it hard to see beyond the immediate moment. But even in the darkest times, we must hold on to one truth: the future is still full of possibilities. Faith in the future is about believing that something better is ahead, even when we cannot yet see it. It's about having hope, even when everything around us suggests that there's no reason to hope. It's a quiet yet powerful conviction that the path we're on will eventually lead us to better days, even if the journey feels uncertain. Faith in the future isn't about denying the reality of the present. It's not about ignoring the pain, the failures, or the setbacks. It's about acknowledging them, accepting them, and still believing that there is a purpose in all of it, a reason for everything we go through. Having faith in the future doesn't mean that everything will work out exactly how we expect it to. It doesn't mean that our struggles will vanish overnight or that life will be without challenges. But it does mean that we trust that something good is coming. We trust that the lessons we're learning today, no matter how difficult they are, will serve us in the future. Faith in the future is built on the understanding that growth and progress are not always linear, but they are constant. Often we get caught up in our immediate circumstances. We look at what's in front of us right now and judge our entire journey by the current moment. When things are hard, it's easy to think that they will always be hard. When we face failure, it's easy to believe that we're destined for failure forever. But what we forget is that life is not static. The only constant is change, and with change comes growth. What may feel like a setback today could very well be the beginning of something better tomorrow. The hardest days often lead to the most profound transformations. We can't always predict when that change will come, but we can trust that it will. Having faith in the future means having patience with the process. It's about understanding that things take time. Nothing worthwhile comes without effort, and nothing great is built in a day. Success, healing, and growth all require time. We may not see the fruits of our labor immediately, but that doesn't mean they're not coming. Just because we can't see the seeds sprouting beneath the surface doesn't mean they aren't growing. Trusting in the future means trusting that the work you put in today will pay off in ways you might not even recognize yet. Faith in the future also requires resilience. It's easy to lose hope when things don't go according to plan. But true strength comes not from avoiding hardship, but from facing it and continuing to move forward. The future doesn't belong to those who give up. When faced with adversity, it belongs to those who keep going, who continue to trust that the best is still to come. Faith isn't passive, it's active. It's the courage to take the next step, even when the road is unclear. Sometimes having faith in the future means letting go of what's no longer serving us. It means making the hard decision to release old dreams, outdated goals, or relationships that no longer align with where we're headed. Letting go isn't easy, but it's often necessary for us to create space for new opportunities, new beginnings, and new growth. The future can only be shaped by what we do today, and sometimes that means clearing out the old to make way for the new. Even in the most trying times, we must remember that the future holds potential. It holds new chapters, new chances, and new horizons. Every setback, every failure, every moment of doubt is a part of the journey that is leading us somewhere toward a better version of ourselves, toward greater success, toward more peace, more love, and more joy. Even when we can't see the way forward, we must continue to believe that it exists. Faith in the future is the belief that no matter what happens, the best is yet to come. There are times when life feels like it's reached its breaking point. When the weight of failures, disappointments, and struggles seems unbearable. You may feel like you've come to the end of the road, like you've given everything you have. And yet, nothing has worked out the way you imagined. It's in these moments that it's easy to believe that your story is over, that the chapters left to write are few, and that the best parts of your life have already passed. But let me remind you today, your story isn't over yet. In those moments of despair, we often forget one simple truth: life is full of unexpected turns. Just when you think you're stuck, when you think things have gone completely off course, that's often when something new, something better is just about to unfold. The idea that your story is finished because of a setback is a misconception. A single chapter or even a series of unfortunate events does not define the entire narrative of your life. The pages are still turning, and the future holds new experiences, lessons, and opportunities you can't even fathom right now. When you're in the middle of a struggle, it's easy to lose sight of this. The pain of the present moment can cloud your vision and make it hard to see beyond the current struggle. But the truth is, this chapter is just one part of your story. It's not the whole book. The power to change the direction of your life is still in your hands, and what you do next will shape the story you're going to tell. Life is not about perfection or achieving a singular idea of success. It's about growth, resilience, and the ability to pick yourself up when you fall. We often think that once we've reached a certain point, we're supposed to have everything figured out, but the reality is much more complex. We are constantly evolving, constantly writing new chapters. Some chapters are filled with joy and triumph, while others may be filled with pain and struggle. But neither defines who you are as a person. The beauty of your story lies in the way you rise after each fall, the way you keep moving forward, even when you don't know what lies ahead. Even when you feel stuck, even when you believe that you've exhausted every possibility, your story is still being written. Every mistake, every moment of doubt, every heartbreak is simply part of your journey. These experiences, though painful, are building the strength, wisdom, and resilience you need for what's to come. Life has a way of unfolding in ways we can't always predict. And while it may not happen according to our plan, it doesn't mean it won't lead to something better. The end of one chapter could very well be the beginning of the next great part of your life. Think about the stories of people who've gone through incredible adversity and come out stronger on the other side. They didn't let a single chapter define their whole life. They didn't give up when the road was tough. Instead, they kept moving forward, trusting that there was something ahead that would make it all worth it. Your story isn't over because you've made mistakes or because things haven't gone the way you thought they would. It's still being written, and the next pages hold the potential for new beginnings, new adventures, and new victories. One of the most important things to remember is that growth is not always linear. Success doesn't always look like what we expect it to. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's slow. And sometimes it takes a series of challenges to get us to the point where we're ready for something greater. Just because you haven't reached your goals yet doesn't mean they're out of reach. Just because you're not where you want to be today doesn't mean you won't get there eventually. Every day is an opportunity to turn the page, to rewrite the narrative of your life. Even if you feel like you've wasted time or made irreversible mistakes, you are not beyond redemption. You are not beyond growth. The beauty of life is that it doesn't matter how many chapters you've gone through. What matters is that you keep turning the pages, keep moving forward, and never stop believing that something better is ahead. Your story isn't over yet. No matter how difficult it may seem right now, no matter how much you feel like you've lost or failed, you still have the power to write your future. The next chapter can be one of renewal, of strength, and of victory. You are not defined by your past mistakes, by your struggles, or by your fears. You are defined by your ability to rise again, to keep going, and to believe that what's ahead is worth fighting for. So don't give up. Your story is far from over. The best parts are still waiting to unfold. You have the power to create the next chapter, to turn the page and step into the future with hope, courage, and determination. Your story is still being written, and you are the author.